Welcome to the second episode of Oberoi Reality's special edition of Keep It Real. I'm Sarina Menezes, and our guest today is Lulu Raghavan, Asia Pacific's president of Landor. Lulu has been instrumental in setting up Landor in India and involved in brand transformations for many companies and businesses in India. Lulu, as a woman leader, is very inspirational and has also recently published her book. Welcome, Lulu, on Keep It Real.
Thank you so much, Sarina, for having me.
So, as a brand evangelist, Lulu, we have some questions for you. Shall we dive in straight away?
Absolutely.
Cool. So, how do brands today stand out in a very crowded luxury market?
You're absolutely right. It is very crowded in almost every category, whether it's a hotel that you need to book, a watch you want to buy, any apparel. In all of these categories, jewelry, there's just so many brands to choose from. Existing brands that have been there for hundreds of years, new brands that have come and established themselves. So that sea of sameness in some ways is there. And so for luxury brands, standing out, standing for something and truly connecting much more deeply with consumers is a challenge. At Landor, we've seen over the years through research that the most important thing that a brand needs to get right to stand out is relevant differentiation. So being relevant with your consumers, keeping up with their changing beliefs and attitudes, making sure that the value proposition is very apt for them, to then standing out from everyone else. So this combination of relevance and differentiation creates brand strength, which allows brands to stand out. So that's what it goes down to.
Very right, especially since Oberoi Realty is also a luxury brand. The relevance and the differentiation actually helps us to stand out from other luxury brands. And there are challenges, right? So what challenges do brands face in maintaining that relevance that you spoke about in today's world?
I would say the biggest challenge is keeping up with the shifts. Think about the shift in technology. All of the brands the last 4 or 5 years, and especially post the pandemic, have been scrambling to get their technology and digital game on, specifically in luxury. Initially, there was denial that consumers will not embrace technology when it comes to luxury brands, but in fact, the opposite has been proved, right? So many of these brands that we're talking about, whether Chanel or Gucci, Burberry, Hermes, they're all truly investing in ensuring that this shift in technology is something that's reflected in the way they approach their consumers. So that's one. Second, I would say shift in consumer behavior. What consumers want today, the choices that they have, the kinds of brands that they're embracing, the values that are important to them, it's constantly shifting. So keeping an eye on that. Of course, there'll be timeless values that consumers want, but also changing behaviors and attitudes, especially towards luxury. And then consumers are getting younger. So being relevant with newer audiences is extremely important. The Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas, not just our kids,
Correct,
but their siblings or cousins who are even younger, ensuring that brands are relevant for them is extremely important. And for luxury brands, I think it's the age-old dilemma of tradition versus modernity, because they represent years of craftsmanship, of quality, of provenance, of that storytelling over so many decades. But then they have to be moving with the times, being very contemporary as well. And if you look at the brands today, whether it's LV or Gucci or Hermes, Chanel, I think they're all striking that balance. Even in the world of hospitality, realty, you see brands ensuring that they find that sweet spot of marrying tradition with contemporariness.
Definitely, I agree on that totally. And the next question is, how are luxury brands creating those holistic experience for customers? I mean, that's another aspect, isn't it?
I think you would agree with me, Sarina, that in the world of brands, it's changed from brand is a promise to brand is an experience. It has to be felt in every touch point of the brand. So if we think about luxury brands, flagship retail stores, flagship experience centers are one way in which they're doing so, right? Immersive experiences where you can go in, for example, when you go into the LV store in Paris, the way in which you interact with the brand, the seamless blend of physical and digital is very, very important. So brands are using spaces to create that emotional connection and affinity with consumers. The second one is personalization, customization. I think the ultimate is Rolls-Royce. They have a feature where you can actually build your own coach, as in like your car, and every element of it is customized, which is quite incredible. And even if you think of Hermes, their limited edition bags and other products create that exclusivity, right? So that's another challenge which they're overcoming. So immersive experiences, bespoke personalization, and then the use of technology, just being future forward or technology forward. I don't know if you know, but Chanel, some of their bags now have charging, right? Wireless charging. How cool is that, right? What an interesting feature that they've thought of. Many of these brands, when you go into their retail stores, they use AR to augment the experience. Sometimes you can be transported into the atelier where the products were created. Very, very interesting use of technology. And then, of course, there's the omni-channel journey, how the virtual and the physical blend to create interesting experiences for consumers. So I think these are all the areas in which there are challenges, but brands are using them to truly stand out.
Wonderful. It's very interesting how you can keep the customer engaged at your centers.
Absolutely. And one more point in terms of holistic experiences, hospitality brands, especially the high-end 6-star, 7-star ones. You know, if you think about the Six Senses, Rosewood hotels, you think of Aman, they now have personalization to the ultimate degree, especially if you go to places like the Maldives, right, where you have wellness that's truly customized for you, Sarina, or me, Lulu. You know, it's not just a generic package, but mental, physical, emotional well-being curated to the nth degree, which is, I think, very, very holistic in terms of the experience. Also bringing in things like sustainability, bespoke experiences. The other element is also local. You know, luxury brands, especially hospitality brands, creating an experience where you can actually experience the locality, the local culture of where you're going. So bringing artists, designers, cultural curators in those spaces. So that becomes very, very holistic and much more emotional rather than just product and service alone.
Very interesting, especially since I come from the hospitality industry, so it resonates very well with me.
But hard to put it on, right? It sounds great to see it, but delivering at that quality to the expectation of these very, very discerning guests is the game.
Yeah, absolutely. My last question to you is, we are sitting with the backdrop of our design studio that was designed by Landor for us. When you were designing the design studio here in Oberoi Garden City, Goregaon, how did Landor bring the whole brand story and design philosophy to life?
Firstly, congratulations to your team on executing. You know, Paul Pullman, the former CEO, chairman of Unilever, very famously said that 99% of brand building is execution. I always remember that. You can have a great strategy brought to life very vividly in the creative expression of the brand, but ultimately how it gets delivered at the consumer touch point is critical. So amazing job. Very true to who you are in your DNA. And Sarina, you'll remember when we worked together, the first part was getting under your skin to truly understand who's Oberoi Realty. What is it that sets you apart? And when we spoke to Vikas Oberoi and other stakeholders, the sense that we got is that this is an organization that has always been pioneering. He had the foresight to look ahead 15 years, to look at spaces and create something of incredible value out of those spaces. We also understood that there's a keen attention to detail, a sense of design that permeates everything that you do, the aesthetic, which is very minimalistic, very, very luxurious, and without screaming luxury, every touch point actually exudes it and radiates it. And then, of course, ensuring that some of your philosophies of how you build and create these spaces, whether it's new urbanism or holistic living, all of that had to be manifested. So when we first did the audit of the space, we needed to understand how consumers, the people who are buying into Oberoi Realty, will get a slice of life of the aspirational lifestyle that they would lead when buying into one of the homes. And so thinking about the space, thinking about what the brand stands for, we had to start envisioning the role that this could play. And early on, one of the manifestations of the brand as a pioneer of extraordinary was to say that design has to be played up. How do we more explicitly communicate to consumers and other stakeholders that Oberoi is a brand that takes design very seriously? And therein, we developed this idea of the design studio, where your stakeholders can come in and experience how you're thinking about developing spaces for them. So when we look at the space, it's very warm, it's very welcoming, it's very sophisticated, keeping in sync with the brand and the brand philosophy. And then, of course, we noticed that it was important to share the philosophy of how you build. So you'll see that there's a wall which has a quote from your CEO and chairman. It has the beliefs of the brand, which are very clearly stated, so consumers can actually just take that in. And then there are areas which give you a view of what the developments will look like. And importantly, there's a materials library where you can actually tactically feel some of the choices that you can make in designing your home. So it's a very visceral, experiential, immersive place where you get a sense of the design, the aesthetic, the lifestyle that you're buying into. That was the thought. You'll have to tell us what consumers are saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
When they come in here. If I were buying my house today and I came in here, I would want my house immediately. Yeah. I had such a feeling of the quality, the thought that's gone into it, the other kind of people who would be there, and I'd want a slice of life immediately.
And thank you for putting the whole design aspect together. I hope our audiences and the people who visit enjoy it. So thank you, Lulu, for joining us today. I've really enjoyed talking to you. I hope you've enjoyed it yourself. And I hope our audience have enjoyed listening to us. I must congratulate you on your book.
Oh, thank you so much.
Recently published, and I've read it. Very inspiring. Thank you very much for listening to us.
Thank you, Sarina.